Jesse, if you could just kind of just give us a brief rundown of what this mission is all about.
The Interagency Targhee Regular Crew, which is formed from BLM and Forest Service employees here in eastern Idaho, is going to be traveling to Edmonton, Alberta, Canada to support ongoing wildfire activity there. The crew is made up of firefighters who are typically on engines or fuels crews or heli-tac, so they're in regular fire positions but doing other things. And so when the need arises and we need to put together a hand crew like this, we gather up the folks who are available, and in this case, because they're going to Canada, everybody going had to have a passport. So that added a little extra layer of logistical concern. So they're going to be all traveling together. I'll let Dana talk a little more about the IA crew part of it. But they'll all be traveling together with 4 other crews from the United States, and they'll all board a jet in Grand Junction, Colorado to fly to Edmonton on Sunday morning.
And how common is it to send crews from this area to other countries?
To other countries, not so common. Actually, very few of us will ever get the opportunity in our careers to go to another country to fight fire. So it's really an awesome career opportunity for these folks. It's just an example of one of the really neat things that we get to do working for the BLM or the Forest Service.
And how, as far as costs of money and those kinds of things go, is this the fire departments in this area, are they compensated by Canada for this, or how does that work?
Well, there are agreements in place that will deal with the funding, but basically these firefighters are still going to be paid through their regular agencies, through the BLM and through the Forest Service. And the actual agreements that are required to fund them coming from America to Canada is done at the national level.
We reimburse the federal government, the federal dollars?
That's a very simplified way of putting it, yes. Essentially, they will be paid through their ordinary channels of payment, but then Canada and America will deal at a much higher level with how that funding gets traded across.
How many firefighters total?
20 from East Idaho.
Okay, and now these firefighters are not necessarily from East Idaho. We have a training center in East Idaho, or in Pocatello.
No, these firefighters are from East Idaho. They are from Island Park and Driggs and Idaho Falls and Pocatello and I think Bear Lake, if I remember right. So basically from the Montana border to the Utah border, and on this edge of the state, all 20 of those firefighters are very spread out.
You said 4 crews. Are they 4 crews of about 5 crews? Are
5
they 5
crews.
Crews of about 20 people each?
Yes.
Okay. About 100 guys?
They might be 19, they might be 21, but yeah, all in all, it's about 20-person crews.
Okay, how big of this fire, what the fire that they're going to fight, or that they're going to work on, how big is that fire and how long has it been burning? And
they will go to Edmonton, and in Edmonton receive a briefing as a large group, and then from there they'll be dispersed to whatever either existing fire or new fire is of highest priority to them at the time. So
are
at
there
this point,
several fires burning in Alberta?
there are several fires burning in Alberta right now, and so at this point they're not going to one specifically, they're just being mobilized to Edmonton to be dispersed from there.
Okay, and these similar to the vehicles we'll be using in Alberta?
No, as far as I know, when we get up there, they'll arrange transportation for us. We're going up as a hand crew, meaning that we'll be using tools, chainsaws, stuff like that, versus an engine. I'm a supervisory wildland firefighter, also known as an engine captain here in Idaho Falls.
Okay, what does it take to prepare for a mission like this to go out of the country to help fight fires?
For us, from my perspective versus dispatch, it's just a matter of getting the crews together, building a roster, and kind of seeing what we have for qualifications, and then appropriately divvying those out and assigning responsibilities to those folks as we put the crew together.
And what type of equipment will you guys be taking with you from here?
Interestingly enough, where we're flying internationally, they are having us take our, basically just our line gear, which are the packs that we carry on our backs when we're actually fighting fire, and then our personal gear bags, which will have our sleeping bags, and extra clothes, stuff like that. Once we get up there, they're going to provide us with chainsaws, hand tools, stuff like that.
Have you ever gone on a mission like this before?
I've been to Alaska, but I've not been to Canada, so it's a brand new thing for me going internationally.
And what's that like for the firemen that get to go that haven't done this before?
Well, that's the interesting thing is we've got a couple of brand new rookie firefighters this year that this is their first real assignment, and so they're getting spoiled in a sense that they're getting this really cool opportunity right off the bat. So it's very exciting for all of us really. They're basically 500 fires over their 5-year average, and we're considerably under that number for our 10-year average down here, and I can give you some exact numbers later, but they really have the need, and so we're just really happy to be able to go up and help where we're getting kind of a respite with all this monsoon moisture we've been getting.
I was going to say, is this going to take away from if we need you guys here, or are we plenty, stocked and prepared for our own fires here?
Yeah. We so with this being a mixed crew from BLM and the Forest Service, we still have a number of resources available for initial attack here on the district, as well as throughout the Great Basin. There are a number of hotshot crews that are still available, a number of Type 2 initial attack crews and regular Type 2 crews. So we're taking a very small portion of our available assets, both locally and nationally.
All right.
Australia and Mexico already there. And so it's a really big international effort to go up and help them. But the fire community as a whole, we do a lot of similar training. That'll be nuances between countries. But between us and the Forest Service, our training is basically identical. And a lot of those policies, practices, and all that translate really well between agencies and countries even, because fire is ultimately the same no matter where you go. It just depends on what it's burning is the only difference. Our big thing is so like my engine crew is going to be going, but we didn't want to split up a bunch of crews. We didn't want to pull one person off of this truck and that truck and this truck and kind of get it all mixed up. And so finding a truck that all had, or mostly had passports was the hard part.
So you wanted crews that kind of had some experience working
that were already together, yeah.
And it's not just that they already have the experience working together, but if we take everybody off of his truck, then his truck is just shut down for this period of time. If we have to take one person from every truck, then that impacts our entire workforce instead of just one truck, basically.
How big of an area? You said you are your dispatch supervisor?
I'm the lead forest dispatcher.
Okay. How big of an area do we dispatch for here in southeast Idaho?
In southeast Idaho, we go up to the Montana border in the north, all along the Wyoming border, and then down to the Utah border in the south, and then out to about Massacre Rocks in the BLM area, Craters of the Moon, Massacre Rocks kind of area along that west edge.
Now, I was talking to Austin. We're way below our average. Are we thinking we're just having a late season? Do we?
That will be completely weather dependent. It could be a late season. We've had a lot of precipitation and a lot of fuels are grown up. A lot of the vegetation is lush and tall. So if it did dry out, we'd have a lot of fire. But if it stays rainy, we may not have a heavy fire season this year. That'll be completely weather dependent.
Here locally, we've only had 24 fires burn a total of 290 acres so far this year, which is significantly below our 10-year average. We typically burn up to about 150 fires on average over a 10-year span, and the last couple of years have been well below normal.
So now you said this is going to be supposedly a 14-day mission to start with. Are they looking? It's going to be longer. Is that their season up there? Is it just going to be worse, and you're going to have to stay there for a while?
As of this time, it's going to be limited to the 14 days, and one of those reasons is because we're just barely getting into our fire season here, and if things change significantly here in the States in the next 2 weeks, we don't want to overcommit ourselves on a national level with our resources. So if at the end of that 14 days additional negotiations occurred between the U.S. and Canada, that could be possible, but it's very likely they'll return home at the end of their 14 days, if not sooner, if they were no longer needed for some reason.